Okay, we are looking at 2-5, solving equations involving absolute values, which we actually went over part of this the other day, so we're just going to continue with that. So I can solve absolute value equations, and we are looking at AREI 3 and ACED 1. This is what we've been working on almost this entire chapter. So, absolute value equations. If we go back through our notes, our guided notes that we did the other day, we start with isolating the absolute value on one side of the equation. Then we ask, is the number on the other side of the equation negative? If it is negative, then we know we can't have a solution. If it's not, we can go on. And then we have to write two equations with absolute values, and then we're going to solve the two equations. So let's do this one. We're going to solve and then graph. So if I look on this side here, the absolute value is already isolated, which is cool, so we can just go on and solve. So I need to write my two equations. I asked myself, well, is this number negative? And no, it's not negative, this number. So that means I can write two equations. So I can do y plus 2 equals 4, so it's just the way it is. And then I can also do y plus 2 equals negative 4. So now, I just solved, so I'm going to subtract 2. So I have y equals 2. And then I'm going to subtract 2 over here, so y equals negative 6. So then it just asks me to graph those. So I go to y equals 2 and y equals negative 6. And I just put 2 dots there. So first step is to isolate, and it looks like it's already isolated. Second step is to say, is this number negative? And that number is negative, so that means we know we're stuck and that is no solution, or an empty set. The other way to write that is a 0 with a line through it. Okay, so depending on the size of each song, Luna's phone holds an average of 2,000 songs, give or take 250 songs. Write and solve an equation involving absolute value to find the maximum and minimum number of songs that Luna can hold. So when they say to write an absolute value equation, that usually means we're going to have x minus something, and that's going to equal something. So that's going to be in the absolute value. So it says holds an average of 2,000 songs. So x minus 2,000 equals 250. And then if I solve that, one's negative and one's positive. So I'm going to add 2,000 to both sides. So x could be 2250, or x could be, I'm going to add 2,000, 1750, which is exactly what we'd expect, because we could figure that out without actually doing an absolute value equation, but now you see how that applies. Okay, so Tamika wants to play the Guess Your Age game at the state fair. If the guess is not within 2 years of her actual age, Tamika wins a prize. Tamika is 16 years old. So they want us to write an absolute value equation. So remember I said we're going to have x minus something, and here we're going to say minus 2 because that's what we're looking at, 2 years of the age, and she's 16. So let's see what they could guess. So I'm going to write it just like it is, and then I'm going to write it with a negative. So I'm going to add 2, and I have x equals 18, and I'm going to add 2. And x equals 14. So write an equation involving absolute value for the graph. So here, this is a little bit more difficult. I have to figure out how many spots are in between these numbers. So it looks like it is, I have 17, so that would be 5. So I'm going to go to right here. So here I would say x minus 5 equals 22. Absolute value of x minus 5 equals 22. So let's see if that's correct. Actually, we'd probably make it, let's make it equal to 5. So it comes out right, sorry. Oh, and it's not letting me erase. Here we go. So I'm going to write my two equations. X minus 22 equals 5. X minus 22 equals negative 5. I'm going to add 22, so that would be 27 equals x, which is one of them. And then we're going to add 22 over here, so that would be x equals 17, and that's the other one. Okay, so homework, watch the video and take notes, and then complete the WSQ by either doing the Google form, or I don't want you to forget the Flipgrid. So if you don't like to write, you can go ahead and do the Flipgrid.